Hi, Bill.
Hi, Thane. You ready?
I'm ready.
So,
How are you?
I am fine. And you?
Excellent.
I have a lot of questions today,
As usual.
and they all came to me this morning.
Okay.
So, it's going to be fun.
Yep.
Sara had a question, and she asked, do we need to ask spirit guides for help out loud?
Oh, no. No, they can, quote unquote, read your mind, unquote. But they know. They know. They know who you are. They know what you're about to ask. Many times they give assistance before you're even aware that they're there, let alone ask. So,
Sex is very enjoyable for humans,
yeah,
especially the orgasmic release.
yes.
Is there some type of event for you guys that has similar reaction?
No.
Okay.
It's purely physical, and since we are non-corporeal, corporal, now I don't know what the words are. Thank you very much.
You are welcome very much, Thane.
But no, we don't
Okay.
need. We get our joy from the experiences and the growth and what we learn and who we can help. That's our joy.
Okay. Thank you for the answers. Could a person who has no control over the spirits, at least flowing through their body, like Sara has control to say no to you, what if someone does not have the control to say no? Could they be considered to have a split personality?
That is not normally what you think of as a split personality or multiple personalities. No, to answer your question, if they are lower spirits than the person they're bothering, then that physical being would be able to say no. Higher spirits probably wouldn't do that. So, I suppose the straight answer to your question is, yeah, they have control.
Okay. I was just curious.
They may not be aware that they have control or even believe it themselves, but yeah, they have control.
So then if they say they don't have control and they're acting weird, they really are letting others in to handle the problem.
Yeah, or just letting them in just because they think that there's no other solution other than letting them in. There may not be a problem, or part of the same thing is that they may feel that it's a problem themselves, especially if they don't realize that they can say, no, this is not happening right now.
Okay. Members of our society that are transgender, is that because their energy is really not the sex that their physical body is?
They might have one possibility is that when they planned this physical life beforehand, they might have desired that it be one gender or the other, and surprise, surprise, DNA combined to be different. Or more than likely, they're just feeling the energies of, what's it called? Of connectedness that means that there's no difference. There's no specific genders, or if you will, multiple possibilities of genders. and therefore not understanding this unity, they choose one that feels better to them, whether it's the physical one or a spiritual, well, I shouldn't say spiritual, but the one that inside their own spirit, their own soul, feels that it would be better expressed in the other gender or in multiple genders or in no gender at all. Does that make sense?
It does, and it opens up some other questions.
Shoot.
Is gender necessary in a 3D world?
In a 3D world, the way your society has co-created it, yes, it is necessary, which is one reason a lot of these, as you say, transgender or pangender or asexual or whatever, are causing such unrest in society, because the belief is fundamental that only two are acceptable, but that is not the case. As your global frequencies rise, eventually, it may take quite a long time, but eventually your people will be no longer concerned with gender, because they will no longer need it. However, it depends on how they approach this and how they accept it. There have been societies, not necessarily here on Earth, but other 3D societies, who bred gender out of themselves. And now they wish they hadn't done that. So you have to be very, very careful. But humanity as a whole can, it may take thousands of years, but can return to that oneness, that unity, where gender is no longer necessary. But that would be a spiritual choice, not a physical tampering of the body.
So that species that got rid of their gender, would that be the Greys by chance?
They're one species, yes, that you're familiar with. Other ones have not approached Earth.
Okay.
But yeah, there are others.
How would a genderless society propagate?
In some cases, they don't need to, because they've reached a point in their spiritual journey, their collective spiritual journey, where they know that they will soon be corporeal. There's that word again. And so gender is unnecessary. Physical reproduction is unnecessary, or will be soon for them. And that's usually the way it happens.
Okay. Earlier in our sessions, it was mentioned that higher energies will burn out a human being. Can you give some?
Well, the energies are too high. Unless the higher being brings their energies down, but they only want to do that to a certain point, or they're not able to communicate properly with the being they are trying to communicate through.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so the 3D being, the physical being, needs to be able to raise the energies enough where they can communicate. Bashar has talked about that.
Many times.
Yeah. Now, in his case, it's physical energies merging with another physical being. And in some ways, it's a little easier for them to do that since they're all physical.
And according to Bashar, he and Daryl are distantly related.
Very distantly, but enough that they can tap into that, and that assists them. Yeah.
Okay. So, to continue that line of thought, what happens to the person physically when a higher energy melds with them? We talk about burnout. What actually happens? Is the brain fried, or is the cells blown up, or?
It can be a number of things. Worst case scenario in human thought, they would die. Very close to that is they would go insane. But there are variations. Some not so drastic.
So it does cause physical damage to the brain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
Okay, yes. Physical damage. Brain, body.
Okay. On a previous video, Age had said that he has access to the same information that Bashar does. And his answer when I asked him what information, he said the information was out there. Some people say there's Akashic records. What's the relationship between Akashic records, all there is, and the info out there?
The same relation that there is with all of us. All that is here, there, and everywhere. So the information is out there. It's available to whoever can connect with it.
I see how stupid the question was now.
It wasn't stupid.
I'm surprised
You're
you
asking.
didn't break out laughing.
No, it's not stupid. You just had to make those connections in your own mind.
Pea brain?
No, I wasn't going to say that.
Oh, peapod brain. I know. I'm not.
You said it.
I'm not supposed to do that.
You said it. Yeah, don't put yourself down like that. You've got a very excellent brain. It doesn't always connect with your body, but you have an excellent brain.
I guess I'm partially ascended then.
Well, a part of you may already be ascended, yes.
Are our physical bodies developed through DNA from the energy and the frequencies required to develop the body we need so we can accomplish the task we want to accomplish?
Boy, is that an open-ended question.
Yes, it is. I ask a lot of them.
Okay. Your DNA has a lot more potential than even your scientists are aware of. So, one way of answering that is to say yes. You can use sound, tones, if you will, to help your body to awaken that DNA or repair damaged DNA or even shift it around to get what you want out of it, shall we say, to put it more generally. But shifting it around is, you need to be quite ascended, so to speak, to be able to shift it, to take a piece out there and put that piece in there, and but basically, yeah, you tell your mind and your spirit guides what your intention is when listening to the tones of healing, and that you're specifically looking for the DNA that will help you heal from illness or disease or injury. It's a good idea before meditating and before going to sleep to always speak with your spirit guides and state your intention, and they can help in those lines. Does that answer your question?
Some of it.
Okay, what's lacking?
Uh, two other questions. So for us to fully develop our DNA, is that something, three questions, is that something we'd want to do, to fully activate our DNA?
Perhaps eventually, but not yet.
What would happen if we did it now?
You're not mentally prepared.
Oh.
Or emotionally, but yeah.
Okay.
It takes vast changes in your thoughts and your thought processes.
Wow. Can you give an example?
Nope.
Okay.
But I will tell you that that is part of the stating of intention, is getting your mind to be open to the possibilities and the intention of what you physically want changed. And your mind has to agree. If it's bulking, it ain't going to happen. And sometimes your physical mind will be afraid of the change.
Is that the mind or the ego?
Well, in this case, the physical mind and the ego are one and the same.
Okay. So if we have a good conversation with our ego and tell it we're not going to let the body be harmed, we just want to enhance its ability in its body, would that assistance, would that help?
It could. It could. It might calm the ego down enough to allow at least a little bit just to see what's going to happen,
Okay. Yeah,
kind of a thing.
That's really all we need.
And that's one reason it can take a long time for any real change.
Do all physical beings have egos?
Pretty much, yep.
In all the worlds?
Mm-hmm. Because there has to be something that regulates that physicality in that world. And that's what the ego does.
You mean if we didn't have our egos, none of this world would be here?
Probably not.
Wow. Now I see why it doesn't want to go away.
Yeah. It's very difficult to get the ego to let go, even for some simple thing as this session. It's very difficult.
There was two more questions in that. What were they? They'll come back if they're important. I'll ask another session. I was listening to a session video a while back while I was editing it. And I think it was one with Age, where he talked about cloning animals, and we really shouldn't clone animals nor clone people. Why is that?
It's tricky. The body, well, okay, let's approach it from this aspect. Your splinter cells are usually something that has been predetermined. Well, I hate using that because then there's religion that thinks, oh, predestination. It's not that. But in your overall theme of physical existence, you most likely have just one splinter per physical existence, no matter where it happens in linear time or whether it's on another planet or another realm, but you're familiar with the whole splinter idea, excuse me, of your higher self, your actual soul. So if you take it upon yourselves to clone, there may not, your higher self may not, your soul may not want to put a part of itself in that clone. And again, that's the choice that your soul makes. It's like, oh no, we're not going there. Or rarely your soul, higher self, whatever, says, well, Let's see what happens. But like I said, that's rare. Basically, well, I could put it simply and say it messes up the scheme of things, but it's a little more complex than that. It doesn't just mess them up because there's an extra body floating around. There is society as a whole is affected by even the simplest clone. And I was reminded, she said something about Dolly the sheep. And then since then, I don't think Dolly is alive anymore. And she had a personality of her own because the sheep she was cloned from allowed it. Animals are a little more simplistic in that way. It's like, oh, well, that's fine. Hence, there are pets now who, for a lot of your cash resources on this planet, there are pets who have been cloned. I guess they are plets or clones or something. Anyway, never mind. That's not important. But they're people who want them cloned, pay an exorbitant amount of money for that, and they're not necessarily getting the same animal. It may look the same because of the cloning process. And they might even say, oh, it's my darling little whoever. But it's not the same. And it could very well end up having the cloning have some errors in it that could cause it to have disease or alter its personality or cause it to die too soon or something. It's not as simple as your scientists and some people with the money to do whatever they want, might think. It's not an exact science. And it probably never will be. Ideally, it will never be. But then again, well, that's pretty much the opinion of everyone I know in the afterlife or ether world or whatever you want to call it.
Continuation of that, the clone is made out of material, which
Right.
means it has energy from all there is.
True.
So would all there is be part of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so could it have a different soul altogether?
Probably not. Other souls probably would not want to send a part of themselves into a cloned animal.
Why?
Not knowing.
That's right, because there's no preliminary agreement.
Yeah. And not knowing what might result. And they don't want to be part of that. They want things to be lifted up. We all do. Lifted up. We want growth. We want improvement. And cloning actually is not an improvement. It's not growth.
So do the Greys clone?
Not anymore.
I take it they used to. Huh?
They used to very heavily until they could not reproduce on their own.
What other species, worlds, you can share that do cloning?
No. There are some, but
Not going to share.
they're not necessary to this world, basically. They're really not,
Well,
because
maybe-
nobody will listen.
Maybe I don't want to know about something that's related to this world. I'm just curious.
I know you are just curious. But it's probably a question for down the road if there's too much cloning going on in this world. And it depends on what other species make contact, physical contact with humanity, there might be those who will warn off of the whole cloning thing.
Okay.